Hi, this is Stuart Tinker from SK Tours in Derry, Maine, and I'm listening to the Stephen King podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest installment of the Stephen King podcast. This is episode number 48. Wow, getting close to 50. I don't know what we're going to do in that 50th. We'll have to think of something.
Yep.
And we've got a ton of news for you and a real treat suggested to us by one of our listeners. Big thank you to Andrew Martin, who suggested that we try to get a hold of the tour operator for the Stephen King tours. We're going to be talking to Stuart Tinker, who you may or may not know runs the Stephen King tours of Maine. And this is the company that takes you around the Bangor and gives you all the highlights. So that is going to be really cool. And Stuart also runs Bet's Bookstore, and Hans has some history with Stuart. So this should be a lot of fun. So a big thank you to Andrew Martin, and let's get on with the show.
Welcome, welcome. Do not fear the door that lies before you. We will protect you. We are your guides, Hans and Lou, and we will give you the latest in Stephen King news. But before we do so, you must prove yourself worthy. You must open the door and join us in the death room.
The first news today is that the remake of It has a new director. And as you remember, there was some turbulence about that and something that delayed the movie. But now Andy Muschietti,
Yep.
director behind the horror movie Mama, that I have seen that one, and it's actually a really good movie.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a really good horror movie. He is now going to direct the remake of It. So, but we don't know anything more about when they're going to start it. I think it was supposed to start in late June, which probably hasn't happened since we haven't heard anything about casting or anything like that. So we don't know when it's going to happen. The plan is still that it would be a 2-part movie. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty much the same thing as it was before, but with a new director and delayed.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. I haven't heard of any new developments like you. So IMDb is just listing it as in development, and that's pretty well it. There's no casts.
No.
And the only thing they have is the rumored casting of Will Poulter as Pennywise, which we had reported before. I hope that he can make the transition from the previous vision from Cary Fukunaga to whatever Mr. Muschietti is planning to do. But that hopefully that's going ahead. But as always, until the cameras start rolling and we actually see on-set reports, don't hold your breath.
No, exactly. And I don't think he was actually confirmed as Pennywise. I think that was a rumor and that he had been spoken to about it, but I don't think it wasn't confirmed that he had actually accepted the role. So
right.
It might just have been that he was asked to do it.
Yep. All right, next up, you remember we've reported that Tom Holland is doing an adaptation of the 10 O'Clock People, and the project name has changed from that original short story title to now being called simply Cessation. And what do you think of that change in title, Hans?
Yeah, well, I always get a bit suspicious when they change the title because, well, why would they do it? So I don't know really, and I have a little bit trouble. Maybe it's because I'm not English isn't my first language, actually, of what it means.
Stop.
stop. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know if stop smoking, and I guess an American or English speaking audience might get that, but I consider myself pretty good in English at least. So the fact that I don't really make the connection
Mm-hmm. Well,
makes it might be a hard title to sell outside US
yeah.
and other English speaking language. So
I got two things there. The first thing is the 10 o'clock people, while those familiar with the short story will probably like that title, problem is for the general population, that title is vague as well. It doesn't really tell you what the movie's about, what type of genre it's about. And my problem, though, is with cessation, is it's not a word that really rolls off the tongue easily. And as like you're saying, most people, even I think, in North America, they're gonna know what it means, but it's not really a much stronger title than 10 o'clock people. I don't know. Is there a I'd rather see like forbidden or verboten, or I don't know if there's a Swedish word like that's a really strong form of stop, but that's probably what it's going to be translated to for when it does play in your area. I understand why the original title is too vague, but I'm not a big fan of cessation either. I mean, I jokingly put down in your post there that maybe they should call it nicotine fit instead, but and somebody else said, or smoking can be dangerous. But yeah, even and it's interesting. I think part of the reason for that is because in North America, smoking has really become pretty difficult to do. You pretty well can't you smoke at your desk, and you can't go outside the building, even on the grounds anymore. I think when King wrote this was sort of when the move had just been made from no more smoking at your workplace. Instead, you have to go into designated smoking areas. But I think so many people not as many people have that habit anymore. And I think people now, when they go out for a smoke, they go to like the coffee shops and stuff like that, which are a lot bigger now too, right? So but yeah, cessation doesn't really work for me either, and I'm hard pressed to come up with a good title. Though I do kind of like nicotine fit.
Well, I understand what you say about 10 o'clock people being too vague to sell, but I kind of like it when you see a movie and before you see it, you really don't know anything about the title or why it's titled that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have seen the movie, you get an understanding of the title.
Yeah.
And I think that could be quite interesting because here it's referred to that they are taking smoke breaks at 10 o'clock, and it's just the people that do that can see the aliens and stuff. So I think when they have seen the movie, they would understand the title, and I think that's quite interesting concept to get people to understand the title. But I can understand what you say, that it might be a hard title to sell to get the audience there.
Yeah, the only thing that is kind of thing that confuses me still is maybe they can't get King's approval to have his name attached to the movie, because if you put Stephen King's The 10 O'Clock People will know what it's about, basically, right? So they'll know what kind of genre or what to expect. So I'm not really clear as to why they came up with the title of cessation either. I just, to me, that title doesn't work nearly as well. I'd rather have 10 O'Clock People, but that's probably because we're used to that title for that story. But cessation is, I don't know, Tom, if you're out there listening, you might explain to us exactly why you chose that title. Or maybe you don't have a choice in that matter. We don't know, but we shall see.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. And we have a reboot of Pet Sematary. And there's been word about a remake of Pet Sematary for years and years and years. And some of them have been stranger than others. But now there seems to be a reboot going on. And it seems like it will be quite different from the original. The director, whose name is Jeff Buhler, said that the cemetery will be there. They will bury pets that come back. But the real horror is, what do these things do to the family? So it seems like he will be focusing on maybe a little different things than the first movie. And I don't know. I actually think that Pet Sematary is actually one of the King movies that really doesn't need a remake, because I think that it's a pretty good movie, even though some of the acting maybe could have been better. But I am pretty happy with it actually. What do you think?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with that movie because I do think that Fred Gwynne, who plays the neighbor, I think he's excellent. Unfortunately for me, the leads that play the husband and wife are not that great, and integration of the cyclist that becomes the ghost in the story doesn't really work that well either. The other strong thing that it has is a sense of place, and that cat is one of the scariest cats I've ever seen in a motion picture. So,
Yeah.
but I can understand where the Jeff Bueller is coming from, because I agree. Once the boy comes back, it sort of does turn into like a Chucky horror movie, which is too bad,
Yeah.
because this is really where you want to see the husband and wife's horror of what's happened, the resurrection of their son, who is not really their son anymore. And I think that's an element that the original picture missed pretty badly. So. I'm all up for this, to be honest. If he can, and it'll be difficult because I mean, once you turn because especially in film horror movies, turning little kids into evil things is such a cliche.
Yeah.
So I'd rather see this, this transformation into this whatever this new version of the kid is going to be much more subtle and play more from an emotional thing rather than like a slasher kind of thing. So I think the older film is old enough. It's almost been 20 years, and I think a next generation, this kind of story, it sort of is related to the Monkey Paw, which is a very old story. I think this is a story that can be redone every generation, and I think to update it to today's world would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this should be remade. You're starting to convince me.
Ah, oh, you're too easy.
Yeah.
Somebody call back and tell them, no, don't remake it. But I really do love aspects of the original, but there's other parts that that I think are pretty bad. So it's a mixed bag for me, which is part of the reason why I don't really have a big problem with it being remade. And it'd be great if they could recast King as the preacher again. That's just as a touchstone to the original movie. So
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. All right. So 11/22/63 is well on its way to being filmed and is in full swing of production. Found out late in July that another cast member had been added, and that was Josh Duhamel. I'm sorry, Josh, if I'm butchering your last name. He's a Battle Creek alumni, and he's going to play Frank Dunning, the father of Jake's student, Harry Dunning. So he's a ladies' man, and Jake knows the main character that James Franco is playing.
Yeah.
I can't really say too much about this actor. I've never really been super impressed with him, but with the range of this, I'm imagining this character that he's playing is going to be pretty one note. So hopefully he's able to capture that aspect of the character.
Yeah, and as extra proof that it's the shooting is actually ongoing, we got a couple of pictures of King from the set.
Yeah, awesome pictures with Christine.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like a Christine car. King. There's one photo of King in the car, and there is actually some kind of a sign laying on the seat beside him, and you can't see it, all of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it said "Do not touch."
Probably. Which King is doing.
Yeah, and you can see King there moving and touching stuff, so that's show his power.
Yeah,
there's photos of J.J. Abrams and James Franco as well with King. Yep. So the shooting is definitely going on, and hopefully we could see some kind of trailers soon, or maybe a little clip or something.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yep. It's a nice looking car.
Yep. And this one I actually have quite high hopes of.
Yes.
Seeing, so that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, moving on, and the next news is actually about one of our least favorite Stephen King TV shows, or the least favorite Stephen King shows, really, and that is Under the Dome. And the news is that it looks like they are changing location for the show. And not it, it says that they will change the location for the filming of season 4. But we don't know if that's actually true, because we haven't heard any word that they actually have been renewed for the 4th season. So it could just be that they are packing up and leaving. So but it says that they are leaving the state that they are in now for another one, where there's lower taxes and it's cheaper to shoot the show. But we don't really know what that means. It says they're moving for season 4, but hopefully they are packing up and ending the show this season. And it says that they are selling some of the props as well, so maybe that's an indication that they are actually packing up.
So what props this show really has, I don't know. But pretty generic. That there's nothing really iconic about any of the props in this show. So
no, it's just some pink stones maybe, and
some of these what do they call those crystals? Those they had a name for it. I can't remember now.
I can't remember either.
The big crystals, whatever they were called. So not much to say here. I think this is posturing. This is a business thing. You know, they're just making their point with the North Carolina tax board that, you know, if you're not going to give us these breaks, we're going to be gone, because I would not be surprised if the tax breaks that North Carolina had came back, with that if there was a 4th season, that the production would just as easily move everything back and unpack. But, you know, and the moving to Utah, if they get a 4th season, that could it would be interesting to see if they would change the setting of the show, or would they just try to continue to make us believe that it's still in Haven. Not Haven, Chester Mills, sorry. So so that though a crossover with Haven. No, don't do that. Don't ruin Haven. Haven. That's one of the good things about Under the Dome. It's made me retroactively appreciate Haven a lot more. So and you can sort of take that as a mini review of Under the Dome if we ever get around to reviewing it.
Yep. We'll talk about it when the season is over.
Yeah. Talking about TV, Haven is returning in October. There's a trailer up, and this is the back half of and probably the final season. Again, we're not clear what the plans are here, but I have a feeling that this has to kind of wrap everything up.
Yeah.
And if you remember, at the end of the previous season, Duke was basically spitting out all his troubles into the Haven skyline. So it'll be interesting to see where things go, especially since we know that William Shatner has a 4-episode appearance, which kind of makes me nervous. It could be hilarious, or it could be, or he could really add something to the show, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they wrap this up.
Yeah, hopefully it will be a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Now, so okay. As we leave the TV news and movie news, there's going to be an event at the Harvard Bookstore where Stephen King and Lee Child will talk about the character Jack Reacher, who is created by Lee Child. And as far as I can see, there will be a new book released by Lee, and they will talk about the character and the latest book called Make Me. And there will be a signing, but it will only be Lee signing books. King will not be signing any books. And the event is when was it?
August 11th. Or tickets go sale August 11th.
No, tickets go on sale August 11th. So when you hear this, tickets will already be on sale. But I didn't see a date for when it will take place.
Wednesday, September 9th.
Wednesday, September 9th. Yeah. So for those of you who can and are in traveling distance, this could be interesting. I don't know if there's been many reading where King has been invited to talk about something he hasn't written, that another author have written. So this could be interesting to hear what King has to say about it. Hopefully they will film it and we can watch it online.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see King playing the role of the host, because I I'm wondering if the audience is still going to try to ask Stephen King questions instead of Lee Child, and I'm sure King will deflect those people back and say that this is Lee Child's show, not my show. I'm just here because I'm a fan of the books, and I was really happy to have this chance to talk to Lee or something along those lines. But I'm sure some people are going to try to ask him questions. But that'll be interesting to see. And I, like you, I do hope that it will end up online at some point.
Yeah. If not, I'm sure there will be people talking about it, so we will know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
And Hans, I don't know if he was deliberately teasing you or not, but there is one piece of movie news that we haven't talked about yet that we should talk about now, and that is the Sony has set a release date for the first Dark Tower movie.
Yeah, you're right. I actually forgot about that. I missed that one.
Oh, I thought you were teasing everybody.
No.
They're all going to give us angry letters. Say, how could you guys not mention this?
Yes. You're right. The Dark Tower movie has gotten a premiere date, January 13, 2017. So it's almost a year and a half away. But we don't know anything else. This was just a list that Sony released that had like about 10 movies maybe listed, and dates for when they would premiere. So I don't know what this actually means for the movie, or how far they've come in doing it. But it gives it makes me believe that they must have come a bit since they are giving it a date.
Yeah.
It would be stupid to give a date if they haven't even greenlighted it. So it looks like it's going to happen.
Well, it's better to set a release date than not talk about the movie at all. But release dates will change as circumstances change. So again, I would take this with a big grain of salt until we actually see on-set photos and shooting and filming. Don't get it too excited. But it is a slightly better degree of comfort that they are going to eventually get this project going. I'm a little confused about why they would release it in January. I would think that because January and February tend to be the dumping months for movies that studios know are bad, don't have a proper time slot during the summer season or whatever, or the Oscar season for the movie to come out. So I would rather see this come out in December. I guess the only issue there is if there's a Star Wars movie or something coming out that year, you probably don't want to compete with that. And maybe that's why they want to stay out of December, maybe because of the Star Wars movies that are all going to be coming up and whatever other Marvel movies and whatnot. But I'd rather see this as a summer movie then or something. But January, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of warming up to it. But as somebody else posted in the thread about it, it should be like on January 19th or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you got to get that 19th thing going in there a little bit,
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and maybe it could be that they don't want all the competition from the greater movies that's released in the big time slots. So maybe they're choosing this to make it easier.
Yeah, or maybe they're hoping to turn January into a new, maybe like what Under the Dome has done with summer TV. It's taken what's normally a quiet period and made it their own. So there'll be less competition in that month, and I guess maybe they want to give it every chance that they can. But yeah, it's a strange month. I mean, to me personally, I don't care when it comes out, what month. I just want the thing to come out, and if that's the month that they're chosen, then we'll go with it. But and hopefully they're not prejudging the quality of it. I guess I'm just going on historic trends that January and February are usually dumping months. So I don't want that perception to be attached to this project and by any stretch of the imagination.
No. Well, hopefully it will be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Turning to the stage, Hans.
Yes. Misery is going to the stage. And we have Bruce Willis and Lauren Metcalf playing the lead. Mm-hmm. And this is actually one that I would love to see.
Absolutely.
That I won't be able to see since it's in the US and I'm not. Mm-hmm. But the news now is that they have an official site for it.
Yeah.
That it really hasn't that much stuff in it at the moment, but I'm guessing they are making it and gonna fill it with stuff as we get closer to the premiere of it. but it's fun, and hopefully, since I don't know how it works with plays, but since Bruce Willis is in it and he's a pretty big star, maybe they will tape it and make it available on DVD and stuff. I don't know if that's common in the US that they do that.
It's not very common to tape theatrical plays, mostly because there's so many of them, and
Yeah,
they're usually the audience for that is much smaller. But this is a different kind of beast, and I would love for it to be taped and released on video or Blu-ray. Like I think a lot of Stephen King fans would pay for this, because there's just no way that many of us can even get to this. But Laurie Metcalf, I don't really know her that well as an actress, but she would be hard pressed to match Kathy Bateman's performance, Oscar-winning performance, Sandy Wilkes. But I'm sure in this day and age, these are roles that can be replayed by anybody. And Bruce Willis is very much in the same mold of actor as James Caan was, a very physical actor. And for him to be playing this character that's restrained because of his broken legs and that for the most of the story will be very interesting to see. And I would just love to be able to go see this too. But there's a million things you can have in life, and there's a million things you can't. But maybe we, in this day of internet and media, somebody will somehow be able to capture one of these performances, and it would be awesome. Like, I'm sure I would not be surprised if Stephen King shows up for the premiere. Maybe they'll make a special out of it with him and tape the whole thing or something like that. But we'll have to see what happens. But this is a very exciting event that I wish all of us could see.
yeah. Maybe they will tour the world with it, so we outside the US can see it as well.
Yeah, I don't know what Bruce Willis's contract is with this, because I imagine even though he's probably taking a break from movies for a while, he can only do it for a certain time period, and I doubt if he would travel the country with it. But anything's possible. But you would think that he would be specifically just attached to the shows that take place in New York City, and if it moves out onto the road, then other actors or local talent would take over the roles. But I do have to say I really love the poster too. It's very simplistic, but it's just basically the keyboard with the typewriter keyboard, old style with the M highlighted, and Bruce Willis's and Laurie Metcalf's name above the title Misery. So I don't know. I kind of like it. What do you think of it, Hans? Or does it just not do much for you?
No, I think it's great. It's has the right creepiness of it without revealing too much, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it would work great.
And the fact that William Goldman, who, if you know your writers, is a very well-respected movie and theatrical writer. He's done some, been attached to some great projects over the year. That he's written the stage play version of this is very, very exciting. And I just can't say it enough. I would love to see this.
Yep.
I'm jazzed about it just looking at it. So, and that is the news.
Yes.
And now, we visit the King Crate.
Okay, we are here with Stuart Tinker, who created Bet's Bookstore, who I personally visited back in '98, and is now running the Stephen King tour in Bangor, where you can watch all the places that King has used in his books. Welcome, Stu.
Thank you very much.
Could you start off with telling us a bit about how you discovered King and when that was?
Well, it was back in '73 when Doubleday first announced that they had purchased Carey. There was an article in the Bangor Daily News, the local newspaper, that a local high school English teacher had signed a book contract with him. And my wife saw it, and it also said that he would be doing local book signings when the book was released the following April. So when it came out, we went to the first signing he did at Bet's Bookstore. He had signed previously the day before at the University of Maine in Orono, where he had graduated from. Mm-hmm. But he came down to Bet's Bookstore, and it was named Bet's because the woman that started it was a woman named Dorothea Betts, and she started the store in 1938. Well, she had called Steve and asked him if he would like to do a book signing when the book was released, and of course he did. So we went to it, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say when we got down there, I didn't want to buy it because it was $6. I thought, I was thinking, 50-cent paperback at the time, back in
Oh,
'74.
right.
But Penny told me that we were going to buy it, and we did. And she read it first and absolutely loved Carrie. And then I read it. I thought it was fantastic. So when the next one came out, we went to the signing for Salem's Lot, and we just kept going back. And after a while, Steve began to know all the local people by first name, and that's how we became acquainted with him, just as fans. And then in 1990, Penny and I bought Betts Bookstore. Mrs. Betts had passed away a number of years before and had gone through 3 or 4 different owners, and each had succeeded in running it into the ground a little further. And when we bought it, there was really nothing left of it. And I kind of bought it by accident. Probably realized the moment that I said yes that I shouldn't have said it, but we took it and didn't really know what we were doing. So we went around to the other bookstores that were in Bangor and checked to see what they were doing. And the thing that jumped out at both of us was nobody stocked Stephen King books. They would have 2 or 3 of the older paperbacks, and that was about it. And we thought it was an insult. This was his hometown, adopted hometown. He and Tabby had done a lot for Bangor, even that early on. And we decided between the 2 of us that we were going to put all of his books in, both hardcover and paperback, and all of Tabitha's books in. And we hoped they sold, but if they didn't, we weren't going to worry about it. At least they'd be there. And it just kind of took off. But the thing that really launched it was Steve hadn't done a book signing in about 6 years up here. And he did one for us. And he started walking into the store about once every 2 weeks, and he would stand there for 20 or 30 minutes talking and answering questions, and at the same time autographing as many books as he could that were on the shelf. And then he started buying books from me. He sold me a lot of books. We got the mailing list for Castle Rock Newsletter, which had about 4,000 names and addresses of diehard King fans on it, and that started our mail order business.
Ah.
It just took off from there. We owe Steve and Tabitha a great deal, I'll tell you. If it hadn't been for them, we would not have made it the first 4, 5, 6 years.
Oh, that's cool. And King's generosity is very well known. Just a little bit of background there, Stuart. So you're a Maine resident from the get-go?
Yeah, born and brought up here in Bangor. Lived in 2 houses my whole life. You can see one from the other.
Oh.
And get this, one is on one side and one's on the other side of the standpipe from it.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So are you tied to the standpipe?
Well, he did wreck our house at the end of the book, so...
this is true. It's interesting about Betts Bookstore, because I always thought there was like maybe a Stephen King connection there, because there is a prisoner in Shawshank. It's called Dickie Betts, but...
Right. Dickie Betts is a guitar player for the Allman Brothers.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you've run this bookstore for a while. When did the tours start, and whose idea was that?
Well, the first tour that I ever did was back in 1991. The Schemers fan club came up, and we really didn't know what we were going to do with everybody. So Penny and I chatted a coach, and we took everybody around. We called it the IT Tour because it was all around Bangor.
Right.
And it took us about 9.5 hours to do it.
Wow.
Every place we went, everybody wanted to get off and take pictures and get back on. And we had one of the best days I've ever had in my life. It was
Awesome.
just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, in conjunction with the store, we'd do the tour. We did it for A&E Biography was one. That's how we happened to get onto that show. We did it for People Magazine. Did it just for a bunch of journalists and a lot of families that would come up over the years. When I sold the store to Dave, which was about 6 years ago, he moved it to his hometown in Connecticut, Fairfield, which I was a little disappointed in. I'd like to have seen it stay in Bangor. It was the oldest bookstore here. It always had King connection. And for the last 9 years that I owned it, Steve was really the only author we sold. Borders had come to town, and we knew that it was going to be a tough struggle to compete with them.
Right.
So we got rid of the main portion of the store and kept just the Stephen King end of it. But after Dave moved it, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And the city of Bangor, the Chamber of Commerce, had asked a few years before if they could take over the IT tour. And I thought it was wonderful that they did. They would do a tour once each month for the 3 or 4 months of summer.
Mm-hmm.
And they called it the Tommy Knockers and More Tour. And they started out the first year or so in a yellow school bus, and people kind of complained about that. So they finally went with a coach. And we kept hearing complaints from people that the fellow that narrated it was not a King fan. And he read everything from a piece of paper. And half the information was wrong.
Oh.
So people, the true King fans got kind of upset with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just mentioned one afternoon, because I was bored, I said to Penny, I think I'll go down and talk to them and see if they want somebody to narrate the tour. And she looked at me like I had two heads, and she said, why don't you do your own?
Right.
So gave it some thought for a day, and I thought, it might work. I wasn't sure. And then we started looking into what was required. There was a lot of permits you had to have from the state, from the Department of Transportation, and from the Fed DOT, and insurance was expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
but word got out through the internet from our old customers that this was what I was thinking of doing, and people started calling wanting to do it. And this was before we were even set up. So by the time I got the van and got the van all painted up and ready to go, and got all the licenses in place, we had a list of people that had made reservations. And
Cool.
It just got busier and busier. So 2 years ago, we had to buy a bigger van.
Wow.
We went from, well, we have both of them now. We have a 7-passenger Chrysler Town and Country van,
Mm-hmm.
and we bought a Ford E350 that holds 12. And I'm looking now, we may have to expand it into a 20-passenger, more of a bus type thing.
Wow.
Which
So-
I really don't want to do it, because it kind of loses its
Intimacy?
personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty intimate right now. I try not to put 12 people in the van. I like to hold it around 8.
Mm-hmm.
But, occasionally I have to.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
turning a lot of people down.
Mm.
How often do you run the tour? Is it when do you run it on demand, or do you have a schedule, or?
Well, I run it every day, 7 days a week, usually 2 a day, one at 9 o'clock in the morning and one at 2 in the afternoon through the summer.
Mm-hmm.
In the wintertime, we really have to start at least by noon. I'll usually do one a day in the winter, and sometimes it's one a week. But if we start any later than 12 or 1 o'clock, it's dark before we're done. So the wintertime is my slow period, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a lot of fans from South Africa and from New Zealand and Australia, because they're coming up to get out of the heat of their summer.
Oh, okay.
And their kids are absolutely thrilled to see snow for the first time, and the parents aren't really thrilled.
Yeah.
The parents always say that they're cold, but
Right. So
it's
you.
just,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just find it amazing, and we found it with the store too, is the worldwide interest in Steve.
Mm-hmm.
He has fans everywhere.
Even Sweden, apparently.
Yeah. There's some strange guy over there that has something.
Yeah, and I imagine it's quite amazing that so many tourists comes to Bangor, because when I was there in '98, I felt it was a very small town and not a very tourist type of town, if you know what I mean. So, and it was very, very intimate and very friendly, and everybody seemed to know everybody, and but it didn't sound like a tourist place. So it's amazing that. But it's amazing that so many people come there and go with your tour and to watch Stephen King's house, I guess, as well. That's fantastic that so many people come from all over the world.
It is, and most people in Bangor don't realize it. We're centrally located in the state of Maine, so it's a place where people can come and take day trips from Bangor, stay in a hotel here. They can be at the coast in Bar Harbor, which is very touristy. They're down there in an hour or less. You can be to the mountains in an hour. You can be to Canada in an hour and a half. So it's a good place to stay.
Yeah.
But most people don't realize how many Stephen King fans come here just because of Steve.
Yeah.
That's
They
kind
want
of
to
hard to
see what
believe.
it is. It
Yeah.
really is. We've kind of lived with it for 26 years, with the store and now with the tours. We see it every single day.
Right.
And I have people tell me the only reason they're coming to Maine is because of Steve. First time in their life they've ever been up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I know when I was in the US in '98, I was over there for 4 weeks, and I was in New York, and I thought to myself, I can't go all the way to New York and not go to Bangor. So we did a little detour up there, and I visited your store, Bet's bookstore, and went by Steve's house, checked that out, and it's a great little town, really. And it was funny because we took a taxi from the airport to our hotel, and the taxi driver thought it was very interesting that we came all the way from Sweden, and asked why we did that, and I mentioned that I was a Stephen King fan, and he just casually said that, oh, we just passed his house. And I was like, man, are you crazy? Why didn't you tell me? But to him, it wasn't anything special. So
Yeah, everybody treats Steve and Tabby as neighbors. The local people treat them like neighbors. Steve's able to live here and shop when he wants to. You see him at the movie theater, and people are friendly, and they'll say hi, Steve, and he knows many people by first name, and he's always very accommodating to fans, and I've never seen Steve be rude to anybody. Matter of fact, he last year, doesn't happen often enough, but he came out 4 different times when we were at the house with my people, and came down and talked to him twice, and twice he kind of stood in the driveway and waved so everybody could get a picture and wanted to know how everybody was doing. This year he's come out once. I had 7 people. We were just getting ready to leave the house. We'd been there about 5 minutes, and everybody took pictures. And as we were getting ready to get back in the van, Steve came walking down the driveway with Molly, the dog, and walked over, and he talked to everybody for probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 minutes. And everybody kind of gets a little tongue-tied around him. They don't know what to say.
Right.
They don't want to say the same thing he's heard 10 million times, but and they don't want to come off as being, a total idiot, which they're not. I mean, fan is a fan, and Steve's pretty used to it. I mean, he's been around people for so many years that get so excited to meet him, and he's very kind. And if somebody is really having a hard time, he's pretty good at calming them down.
Yeah. You can see it when he seems pretty at ease on the stage now when he does his tours and whatnot for his books, or if he's at an appearance for a school or something like that. He's always maintained that very down to earth atmosphere, which is really a testament to him. I'm curious about. I'm looking at your 2 vans here on your website, and they're both very nice vehicles. I see you've got the It Clown and the Raven, the Crow.
Yes.
Your tours started out. You mentioned earlier your first one was like 9.5 hours. How long are they now?
A lot shorter. I tell everybody it's a 3-hour tour.
Gilligan.
If you're American, you associate that with Gilligan's Island, but I do bring it back.
That's good.
It depends on how many people. The more people, it'll take a little longer. Sometimes I've had them go. I'm thinking right now the average is about 3.5 hours, but I've had them go as long as 5 because people have lingered and I don't want to hurry anybody along. They've come a long way to see this stuff, and,
Yeah.
and it's fine with me. The only one that's tight is between 9 and 2. I've got to have enough time to get the van back to the house and at least vacuum it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But the 2 o'clock one, I've had them go to close to 7 o'clock at night. It's supposed to be done at 5. But
Right. So you heard it, listeners. Take the afternoon tour.
Yep.
Boy, I didn't say that out loud, did I?
I'm curious, has Mr. King himself ever gone on a tour with you?
No, everybody has that. I don't know if I could do it with Steve. It's like he says when people ask him why he's not reading his own book. He says he knows how they all end. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Has he commented on the tours? What he thinks about them? I guess he's okay with them since he come out talk to you when you drive by. But
yeah, he's never come out with his double barrel shotgun or anything and told us to leave. So no,
that would be really fun if he did that. If he did
yeah.
that just for fun, went out with his shotgun.
Well, it's funny because when people see him walking down the driveway, most everybody's first thought is, "Oh my gosh, he's mad and he's going to tell me to leave."
Right.
So by the time he gets to him, they are so nervous they just can't speak. And there's been a couple that I know that saw him coming, and he actually was standing next to him, and they just turned around, got in their car, and drove off, and left him standing right there.
Well, we have to mention that the idea for interviewing you came from Arthur Martins. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Oh, sure, yeah.
He said he's done your tour 4 times. I believe. He even got married, apparently.
Yeah, got married on the tour, got engaged on the tour.
Did you partake in the ceremony, or?
I was a witness, and I told him.
Oh, okay.
Nice couple, really nice couple, a lot of fun.
Yeah, okay. So that's a shout out to Andrew again for suggesting that. It's like we just, I've seen your site before, but it just never really dawned on me. But as soon as he mentioned it, I said, of course, what a great idea. So that's great to get listener feedback. And I'm really happy that you were able to come on and talk to us about this.
Yeah, this is great. Where are you in Canada, Lou?
I'm in Alberta.
Oh, you're a ways away.
Yeah, I used to live in Ontario, actually, near Toronto. Now, just recently, I moved out west, so I'm just north of Edmonton. So, unfortunately, but I do have relatives on the East Coast. I really have to get down there sometime.
Well, I had some folks the other day from BC.
Oh, yes.
Matter of fact, I've had a lot of Canadians this summer, more than normal. I mean, we're pretty close to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
But had a lot coming from Montreal and Toronto and Saskatchewan. Matter of fact, the Little League World Series, the Senior League World Series, was just held here, and there was a team from Regina that came, and so there were a lot of parents and aunts and uncles from out there that had made the trip to Bangor.
Cool. How long have you been running your tour now?
It's coming up on 6 years.
6 years?
Full time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Has there been have you noticed like a change in the people that go on the tour? Is it usually the same, like a family kind of group, or different age groups, or?
It's all age groups.
Right.
I've had some people that were fans that were as young as 10 to 12 years old, which at the bookstore we kind of considered that a little too young for Steve's books, but kids are changing so much today, and and yet I've had a couple of people that were late 80s that have been fans, as long as I have been, and
right.
It's about 50-50 if it's male or female. And we're getting more and more people that are finding us on TripAdvisor, which has been a real godsend, because we don't do much advertising. We have the web page. We're in most of the local hotels have an in-room guide.
Right.
And we buy an ad in that, and we're in probably 30 different hotels, so we get a lot of last-minute bookings. Usually I can fit them in, but not always.
No. How much in advance, if someone is going, do they have to book the tour?
Well, like I say, some of them we can fit in last minute. I've got some tours booked into 2016 right now. People that are making long range plans, but usually with a day's notice, if they're a little bit flexible on time, we can usually fit them in, especially with the bigger van.
Yeah, great.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask how much is it a tour? How much does it cost?
Yeah, we charge $55 for one person. If there's two people, it's $80 total, $40 a piece. And then any over two in that group is $25 extra a piece.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
That's not so much.
No, that's
very reasonable.
And how many locations do you go to?
Well, it's between 25 and 30.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot. And sometimes we never leave Bangor. Everything is here. If we do leave Bangor, we go to Hamden, where Steve was teaching high school English when he wrote Carrie. We'll go there. We'll go to Dysart's Truck Stop because that was his inspiration for the short story trucks, which became Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yes.
That's the next exit south of Bangor, and the food and their blueberry pie, I tell everybody, is delicious. So.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of reasons to visit Dysart's.
Uh-huh.
And once in a while, we'll take them out to Herman, where Steve and Tabby lived in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
That was, without doubt, the worst period of Steve's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's 50 years on, and he still has nothing good to say about it. It was a real tough period.
Right.
And I think, the love that Tabby has had for him kept him going. And, the story about her finding Carrie in the trash can is true. She did, and she pushed him to continue with it. And, they're a remarkable couple, especially if you know the problems they went through in the early years and how things have turned around for them now. And they raised 3 wonderful kids. And it's a great family.
Yeah, they've done a lot for the area for sure.
Well, they've done a lot for Maine. It's not just Bangor. They do an awful lot very quietly that nobody knows about because they're not seeking publicity. They do it because they feel it's the right thing to do and they're able to do it.
How do you add much to the tour, or how do you find every information? Is it stuff that you learned over the years, or do you call Steve up and say, hey, do you have any new location that's been inspiring you?
Well, a lot of it we picked up, when Steve would visit the store and we'd talk to him and ask him questions. A lot of it is just from reading the books. If it's set in Derry, I've lived here for 63 years. I know the city pretty well, and it's pretty obvious some of the things he's writing about. There are a couple of things I'm not sure of. In 11/22/63, the diner, I don't know what he was talking or writing about, whether it's an actual diner here in town or if it's something that exists somewhere else and he just made it into Derry. Nebold Street in it is one I'm not sure of, and I never think to ask him. The other thing, and if anybody knows the answer to this, please let me know. In the Talisman and in Joyland, are the amusement parks the same? You guys are stumped too, huh?
Yeah. Never made that connection, to be honest.
I think they are. New Hampshire has a very short coastline, and to have 2 amusement parks there on that short a period, I think it's just Steve tying his stories together like he does.
Oh, okay, cool.
But, I need a definite answer on that.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Do you get a lot of questions from the passengers about stuff? And is there a lot of questions that you can't answer?
Get a lot of questions. There are some that I don't know the answer to, and I'll tell them I don't know the answer. We have some fans that are more knowledgeable on characters and stuff than I am. When we go through Mount Hope Cemetery, they'll see a grave with a name on it, and they can tell you who that character is in what book.
Wow.
Steve got some names off from headstones there back in the days of college. So, I can't do that. I mean, I've read everything he's got out, read some stuff that he hasn't published, and I don't remember him from one day to the next. Characters.
No, I don't remember characters that well either. But
and I'm always amazed when somebody does.
Yeah, some people just have it with names, right? I don't have that talent, unfortunately.
No.
I'm curious. You've been in Maine your whole life, and I can hear a bit of an accent there. But are you holding it back during this interview, or is this your normal accent?
Yeah, well, no, this is just me.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had. How about you, Hans? You got anything else?
Yeah, I have one more question. How come you sold Bet's bookstore?
Well, David had been after me for a while. I was kind of burned out. Things weren't going extremely well personally. My dad was extremely ill, and had a young girl that worked with me that Penny and I kind of thought of as a daughter, who was going off to college, and we kind of lost touch with her. And it just seemed right at the time. I think if I'd waited another 3 or 4 months and David asked, I would have said no. Some days I miss it. I miss the daily contact with the people that I had, because over 20 years, I mean, they became friends. They weren't customers any longer. They were just friends. Mm-hmm. And some of them, I talk to every single day. And I kind of miss that. And the big thing I miss is the thrill of tracking down a rare book or a collection. That was a lot of fun. But I am having such a good time doing these tours, because almost everybody on the tour is a fan.
Right.
We found out over the years with couples, it was usually one or the other. One would be a big reader. One had seen some of the movies, but they weren't wild about Steve. And it's kind of fun to see their attitude change as they go around the town and see things. And usually by the end of the tour, somebody will say, I think I want to try to read that book. Yeah, I want to read something.
You should be on Steve's payroll.
Well, I'll tell you, I owe him so much.
Okay. Anything else?
Are you a big collector of his books and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, we have everything, mostly first editions. Most of them are signed. I didn't keep all the limiteds. When we bought the store, Penny told me the number one rule was I couldn't fall in love with the inventory.
Yeah.
So, we'd get something in that I really, really wanted, and I'd look at it and say, can't do it, can't take it home. So the one thing that I regret selling out of the store was we had a handwritten manuscript of Whimsy, which was a short story Steve started writing when they lived in England. And it was 19 pages. It's in a spiral-bound notebook, all in his handwriting. Never got published, never got finished. And I sold it, and it's in a great collection, but that's the one thing I wish I'd hung on to.
Mm.
Yeah. I have one last question, and when you go on the tours, do you have you had anyone quite crazy asking crazy stuff, or want to do drive up to Steve's house and go knock on the door or something like that?
No, I haven't. I had one woman that we were sitting at a light downtown, and Steve pulled up beside us on the right, and he had his top down on the convertible, and I thought she was going through the window, but he luckily made the right turn on the red light and took off. But no, everybody's been very good. We get to the house, the gates are open, and people respect the fact that it's home, and they stay on the sidewalk. They're amazed at the house being right there. It's not like a celebrity's house in California where it's behind 10-foot cement walls and you can't see the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's right there. It's just a normal, it's a normal house in some ways here in Bangor. It's just a very beautiful, big, expensive house.
All right.
Yeah, and I think he's bought the house next door, right, as well now. So
yeah,
Both.
Yeah, the white one next door to him is their guest house. There were a lot of stories there's been a lot of stories that he bought it for the kids to live in, and it's his library. Well, that's not true. They bought it with the early intention was maybe moving the office into it, but then they decided it was too close to the residence, so it became just the guest house. And one of the early things they looked into was putting a tunnel in between the two houses underground, and that didn't pan out. The engineering costs and the benefits just didn't add up. So, but it's probably the most gorgeous house in the city of Bangor now, because they had it totally restored.
Okay, I think that's it. It was very nice talking to you. Very
Nice
interesting.
talking to both of you.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. Would you do you have some contact information or that you want to put out there for people who want to go on the tours, how they get in touch with you?
Yeah, that would be great. Our webpage is sk-tours.com. And our go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I heard the Maine there.
Okay, so we'll put you in the car on a nice hot day.
Sorry, go ahead.
Our email address is sk-tours@msn.com. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of us. But the webpage has, 7 or 8 different pages in it. It's not real professional. I do it myself, and I'm not very good at the computer, but we've managed to put a few pictures on there, and I get some pictures from people that have taken the tour that we'll stick on, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I took a look at it. It's good stuff. So, and you run 12 months a year, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much, Stuart. It was a blast talking to you, and I hope someday to get down there and do one of your tours.
Well, I'd love to take you, and Hans, and maybe you'll get back over here, and we'll go do a tour together.
Yeah, that would
would be really great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, thanks a lot, Stuart.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And that is it for this episode. Hope you have enjoyed it as much as we have. It was great talking to Stu. And for the next podcast, we are doing yet another suggestion from one of our listener. Amy Sandler sent in an email and asked us to talk about the B-movie versions of Stephen King's books. And what better way to start with Graveyard Shift, which is the king of all B-movies, maybe.
Rats. Why did it have to be rats?
Yep. So we are going to watch that and talk about that one in the next episode. And it would be fun if you would watch it and give us some comments and thoughts about it that we can use for the next episode.
And again, we want to thank all our listeners, Andrew for the suggestion for Stuart, and Ami for the B-movie suggestion. I'm not a big B-movie watcher fan by nature, but I think it will be instructive to see to go through some of these lesser liked or well-known King movies. I mean, I did find some redeeming qualities when we did The Mangler, so that should be interesting. I mean, we will mention indeed a little more detail about your thoughts about the Graveyard Shift when we do talk about it, so don't worry about it. We have your email, and we will save it and include your comments or reference them. And again, thank you for your review of Knowing Darkness that you contributed way back in episode 9. So thanks for that. And with that, we want to say, as usual, to all our listeners out there,
stay safe,
but
stay scared.